Hey guys, welcome back to BSC TV. Thank you so much for tuning into Real Talk. My name is Carrie Ann Salmon.
And I'm Diamond Hamilton. Today we'll be speaking about New Year's resolutions, how to have a successful semester, and the infamous election.
Now, the elections, our 45th president of the United States is President Donald Trump.
He's not my president. Barack Obama all day.
We'll get into that a little later, but first we're going to talk about some New Year's resolutions. My New Year's resolution for this year is not to procrastinate. Last year I waited to last minute to do a lot of things, and I realized that was counterproductive. So this year I'm going to try to tackle on stuff as soon as I can and not wait till last minute to do stuff. Do you have any New Year's resolutions, Simon?
Yes, actually I do. So one of my New Year's resolutions is to cut all my meats down to fish by the end of the year. I eventually want to not eat meats at all, but for right now I want to cut it down to just fish because I feel like, there's a lot of cancer causing components inside of red meats, and I don't really want to eat them anymore. And I also want to go more towards an acidic diet. Towards an alkaline diet. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. I want to cut acidic foods out of my diet because acidic foods are cancer causing. And you can go on diets that are alkaline. That can some people's bodies are naturally acidic and some are naturally alkaline. But you can go on diets that can make your body alkaline. So that's how I want to figure out if I have an alkaline or acidic body, and then go on an alkaline diet.
I definitely commend you for trying to make that change because it's hard to switch over from going to completely meatless. I love my good combo number 2 on Popeyes. So it's definitely hard for that. I also feel like the public isn't really aware of what goes into their food, what they're putting in their mouth. A lot of people just go to the local supermarket and just pick up a packet of chicken because it's $2.50. Right. So it's definitely good that you're trying to make that change, and I do feel like the public should be more aware. I heard stuff about plastic rice. I didn't even know that could exist.
Yeah. So it's just certain foods that we don't think when I figured that out, I was my mouth dropped. When I seen a video of the plastic rice being made, and you wouldn't just go up to a plastic bag and start eating it. So why should you eat those things? I think people should be more informed. Just do a little bit of research here and there because you need to protect yourself and know what's going in and out of your body.
Now, we also went to social media to see what other people's New Year's resolutions are. So the first tweet that we saw was at Pete Holmes. Forget to make resolutions. Just write out everything you did last night, and at the beginning, add the word stop. At Female Text texted, my only New Year's resolution is not to spend money on food. I honestly might be rich by 2017, which is the truth because the amount of money I spent on food could probably be in the hundreds of thousands.
No, really though. Chase Turner said, my New Year's resolution is to not say, okay, 2018 would be my year at the end of this year. So I think that's a really good idea because a lot of times we make a New Year's resolution, then a couple of days pass by and we're like, forget it, this month didn't work out for me, it was a trial month, so I'm gonna wait till February. Then February comes, we don't do what we need to do in February, so we're like, forget it, next year be my year. And then that year comes up, and then before New Year's Eve we're like, this year is gonna be my year, and I think it's just best to just stick with it. And even if you make mistakes, we're gonna make mistakes, we're human, just keep going, just keep working hard and keep practicing towards it.
Yes, definitely. At Cradrian tweeted, my New Year's resolution is to work on my self-esteem, but I don't think I can do it. I catch the irony there. She's doubting herself within her tweet. How cute.
Yeah, I think my advice to you is to delete all the negative words that you're saying to yourself, delete all the negative words that you hear from other people. You cannot try to motivate yourself and put yourself down in the same sentence. It's just not going to work out. So in order to move forward, you have to remove that stuff from your head, and the best way to do that is not to focus on the old, but to take all your energy and focus it on the new. At Penelope on Twitter says to have all her makeup cruelty free. I think that is a really good idea because me myself, and I feel like a lot of other females we don't really think about the fact that some makeup is harming animals. So I think that it's a good idea to try to aim for makeup that's cruelty free, and it's actually bringing awareness because I did not even think about that.
Yeah, we don't really appreciate what really goes into fleekness, be beat, take a whole new meaning to beat, beat some animals to get beat. So that's definitely one change that I hope comes about.
Yeah. So at Blue says to say no to procrastination. Now, I think this is amazing, and I also want to take this to go into some tips on how to have a successful semester because a lot of us we procrastinate, and that is not good when you're in school or just in life in general. It's just not good to procrastinate. Just do it, like Nike said.
Yeah,
Disclaimer. So, some tips to start off that I have for you guys is to make sure that you visit your advisors at least twice a semester. You can do more, that would be great, but I think at least twice a semester is good to make sure that you're on the same track, because often I feel like a lot of students and their advisors, they get misled and there's a lot of miscommunications. Advisors have a lot of students and students only have one advisor. So you need to make sure that you stay on top of your advisor, you make sure that you're meeting with your advisor at a decent amount of time, so that you know that you're on the right track and you're not waiting too long. We're in a situation where it's the last minute and it's like, oh, I thought I needed this credit or I didn't need that credit, and the next thing you know, you need one more class to graduate and now you can't walk across the stage. It's not worth it. I also wanted to inform you guys that they changed the application date for FAFSA to October 1st. So if you didn't fill out your FAFSA, you should fill out now. It used to be January, but now it's October.
Definitely one of the tips that I can advise people, approaching my last year of college, definitely prioritize. I know coming in, I was definitely saying, where's the next party at? I want to be lit. But definitely make sure you prioritize and always put your schoolwork first. That's the reason why you came to school, to succeed and to obtain an education. A lot of students, especially freshmen and sophomores, not to put anybody down, but we do get tempted by the parties and, have that peer pressure from our friends, and we want to go out knowing that we have an assignment or a test or a paper due the next day. So definitely put your schoolwork before anything, and that party, save it to the back. You don't want to be able to, not go to parties in the future because you didn't make the grades to stay in school. So definitely do that.
So see, what you're talking about is actually great, and I think that a great way to do that is to have time management and to stay organized, because you can make sure that you're planning out your time, and like there's 24 hours in a day, and really successful people, they have the same amount of time that we have. So I think that it's best that you make sure that you have a planner, you make sure that you're actually, I have this binder here that I wanted to show you guys, and basically when I use one binder, an EOP advisor showed me this technique, and use one binder instead of using a bunch of different binders, because I find it that I usually I'll have I'll have a notebook for each class, and I'll have a binder for each class, and not only is it expensive, but also you end up putting stuff in the notebooks or the binders that wasn't for that class. So I have this binder here, and I would take these, I'll have dividers for each class. And then, I'll put the syllabus in the front of each binder, and then I'll just put the notes afterwards. And then when I have a notebook, I take this right here, these little sticky notes, and then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I have 5 classes. So I take each color and I assign one color to a class. And so basically, when I have that, I have one notebook and I just write all my notes in there until it gets filled up. Once it's filled up, I go back, or if a test is coming up, I go back and I just take a sticky note and stick it on whatever page is that color for that class. And then when I need to study, I go back, because I feel like too often, not only do we mix up our notes, but we also don't know where those notes are. We'll have a test and then we'll have a notebook full of notes that we took in class, but we don't know where these notes are at for what class. So I think this is a really, really good technique.
That's really awesome. That's great advice. I wish I had that at the start of my school year, because my bag was always so big because I had a whole bunch of books, and I never really, crammed down and consolidate on my work into a binder. So that's really, really good advice.
Yeah. I also think that you guys should go see your teachers during office hours. Try to get your work done before it's due. You don't have to try to do it a whole month in advance, but make sure that you try to do it at least a week or two in advance, because you don't want to try to do it the night before. A teacher can tell your effort. If you're trying to do your work and it's 3 hours before the class, or an hour before the class, the teacher can tell that you did that. So just make sure you're setting out time to do your work. Make sure that you're setting out time to actually go to office hours and talk to your teachers and let them know that you actually care about your grade and you care about your work. Because when you get in a situation where it's just the middle of the semester, it's the end of the semester, and your grade isn't looking too good, or you did bad on a test and you're trying to get an A, that teacher can remember that you talk to them in the beginning of the semester, not in the end when everything is crumbling. So I think that's a really good thing for people to do.
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to switch gears a little bit, and then we're going to go into the elections. So, as we know, President Donald Trump, now our president, he's been making a lot of headlines, and it's only been less than a week since he's been in presidency. Start off with the inauguration that happened. The numbers were a little bit low, but according to President Donald Trump, that's not true. Compared to 2008, when President Obama took office, there was approximately 1.7 million people in attendance. Now, switch over to Donald Trump, looked a little bit empty.
It was empty. It was empty.
But Donald Trump has consistently said that the media is portraying him in a false light and considered it to be fake news. His counselor also went out to create the terminology alternative facts, which just means lies. When the press secretary declared that there was a lot of people in attendance. So we took to social media. Social media took this alternative facts and made some interesting tweets. So the first tweet that we saw here was at Jilton Flood. Hi, SAT board. I needed to change my test scores. I didn't get the questions wrong. I provided #alternative facts. That's the truth. I wish that my SAT is alternative facts. Can you change it so I can get a perfect score, 2,400?
Exactly. Like, I think it's absolutely ridiculous, the things that he do and the things that he says. I mean, like, where did you come up with alternative facts? Where did you come up with this idea to say that? I mean, I can ask that for a lot of things that he do. Where did you come up with this from? My whole thing with him saying false news and him saying, like, the media this, the media that, okay, so it's your job and it's every other citizen's job to look at where you're getting your resources from. Is it credible? Is it not credible? When these people that are at CNN or a credible news station, they are taught that one of the first things you're taught, and the first thing that I have got taught in news, is that you don't report off of your bias, off of your opinion. Once you have opinion, you walk into a news station, that goes out the window. He's getting upset at things that are actual facts. The picture is a picture. Nobody is photoshopping the picture. Nobody is like, let me pick out the millions of people that wasn't there. No, that didn't happen. You're upset because what was actually reported, that what actually happened. And I mean, come on now. Why are you even worried about why people weren't there or who showed up and who didn't show up? Aren't you the president? Aren't you the commander-in-chief of America? Shouldn't you be worried about our community? Shouldn't you be worried about healthcare? Shouldn't you be worried about education system? Shouldn't you be worried about war? Shouldn't you be worried about all of that stuff? Why are you worried about a damn picture?
Yeah, go off. I preach. That is so true. I feel like they're focusing on the wrong things, you know. President Trump, I don't even know where to go on that. It's just so much things. You know, he's already signed numerous executive orders into place. He's really taken that build the border seriously. And I want to know whose money is paying for that, because my hard-earned tax dollars is not paying for a wall to be built between the U.S. and Mexico. So I don't know. The future of this country is just, let's see. I know also he nominated Betsy DeVoe to be Secretary of Education.
Yes.
And she was basically cross-examined by current secretaries, and that was an interesting
So one question they had for her was, do you think that guns have a place in or around schools? And she responded and she said, I think it's best that's left to the locals and the states to decide. Okay. So you know, I don't really have a comment towards that, but okay. Then she went on to say that I would imagine that there is probably a gun in the schools to protect from potential grizzlies.
Hide your kids, hide your wives. The grizzlies is coming for you, okay?
I mean, like, it's absolutely absurd. This is what we have. These are the people who we are in the hands of. Hold the hands of America. And this is our potential education secretary who is saying that guns are probably in schools for potential grizzlies. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
And they even asked her, you know, her qualifications, what qualifications she has to become Secretary of Education. And they asked her if she even took out a federal loan, and she responded,
who are struggling to pay for college. Mrs. DeVos, have you ever taken out a student loan from the federal government to help pay for college?
I have not.
Yeah, so, you know.
It's just crazy, because I feel like if you're going to have a position like that, and if you're going to be in a position where you're in control of so many people's education, and you're in control of where so many people's lives are led. You should have some type of experience with that. You should have some type of feeling with that. You should have some type of background with knowing what it feels like to be in that position. And if you don't, how can you care? How can you actually genuinely put in your input? How can you actually make sure that you're doing your job efficiently when you don't have no experience, nor have you ever even been put in that situation where these students have been put in? It doesn't really make any type of sense to me, you know?
It just goes to show you that you don't need much qualifications now to take, such an important role in our country. Yeah. So now closing out, we definitely, discussed some great things here. On our next episode, we'll be discussing more interesting stuff.
Yeah, so on our next episode, we're going to be talking about tips for natural hair. We're also going to be talking about Black History Month, and we're also going to be talking about
Valentine's Day. That's coming up. Love is in the air. I can smell it. But definitely, we're going to be giving some tips on ladies, how to treat your man this Valentine's Day, what you can do. And all for the single ladies out there, we didn't forget you, because I'm single too. I'll definitely be talking about stuff that you can do for Valentine's Day so you don't feel so alone.
And men, how to treat your ladies. Yeah. We also have to give y'all those tips too, because y'all be
that's a lengthy show right there.
You're tuning in to BSC TV's Real Talk. I'm Diamond Hamilton.
And I'm Carrie Ann Salmon, and we see you guys soon.